It is me. I'm back with a few tips. I just came from my workout. I'm going to burn a little bit of sage if my lighter will light. Just a little bit. It's a tiny bit of sage. Yep. There we go. Little tiny piece of sage because I don't like wasting my bundles when they break. There we go. That's wonderful. So I'm here to chat a little bit about something that I think is important to go over at this time or in this space at this moment because time is not real. And, I want to leave some words of encouragement based on where we currently are on the Gregorian calendar. We're going into 2021. Just washed my hair. And, it's a great time to be mindful. And I just wanted to come on and remind my goddesses on this channel about some things that we could be doing to make 2021, despite however anything may look, however volatile or out of control things may look through the media, how we can make 2021 successful and the most significant, monumentally, in a good way, life-altering year for ourselves, not in terms of reacting to, again, outside chaos. So I'm saying that because I got my water. Self-mastery is the title of this video. And self-mastery is a good way to frame shrinking fibroids naturally. Self-mastery to me, it's a more elevated vibrational way to talk about self-control, but it's not just self-control. It also deals with your relationship to self. Self-mastery involves understanding the different aspects of self. When we talk about self-mastery, you could be talking about it from a lot of these different angles. So, I'm not going to, as I always say, be on here long, but just for a quick clue in, so that you see the angle that I'm coming from. I'm talking in terms of, the mind, the body, the spirit, and the soul. And first of all, that's one of the main fundamental tenets of succeeding with shrinking fibroids naturally, is knowing that there are a lot of different approaches that led to fibroids developing in someone's womb. And those same angles of looking at this topic, this subject, will also be the directions that you need to go in order to shrink them or dissolve them, right? So self-mastery and fibroids go hand in hand because, in my opinion, self-mastery is what is missing. Maybe not in all the areas because we're all different, but in our own individual ways, there is some areas where self-mastery, the ball is being dropped in terms of self-mastery when we're talking about why we develop uterine fibroids. And fibroids are a signal that, again, things are out of balance. Things are in disarray. Things are disheveled. So there's some areas that are messy in terms of the topic of self-mastery. So that's why I wanted to put that in the title, because I want to set my goddesses up who watch this channel for success going into 2021 and beyond, because fibroids are really just, again, a loud horn honking like, hey, this is not right. You need to give some attention to this area. These things are a mess. You left this unaddressed, and now it's swelling and growing into this big thing that's feeding this fibroid that's growing into this big thing. And usually those things that I'm mentioning can be led back to the question of what area of self-mastery where were you overlooking that you could have addressed that would have cut off the food supply to fibroids. So that could look like a number of things. Um, but I mention that because this is a wonderful time to reflect on where we've been so far, where we've come, um, as well as to project and envision, become that visionary and that navigator, that empowered um, goddess who is in control over her life, over all things that are part of her womb universe or her world. Um, Little shifts that you can make to step out of the reactionary, well, fibroids are just growing and I don't know, things are out of control, to where you're stepping in and saying, there may be fibroids present at the moment in your womb. However, that doesn't mean they will be in the next present moment based on what actions you choose to take in the present moment, right? So I'm inviting you to start looking at the topic of self-mastery and examining ways in your life that you can give attention to mastering different aspects of yourself where things may be out of control. There may be some fear or negative emotions there on these topics. Self-mastery we could be speaking from the higher and lower self perspective. And when I say higher and lower self, think in terms of your chakra points. Your higher or highest self would be the crown chakra, I believe. Then we have the third eye, and then we have the throat. I could be leaving something out. And then we have the heart, and then we have the solar plex, sacral, and root, right? So we're talking about when we get to the midpoint, the things of the mind, the things of the third eye, or our mind's eye, our connection to the ethers, our connection to the creator. Those are topics or areas that would relate to the higher self, and your lower self would be, let's say, below the heart, including that solar plexus, the sacral chakra, and the root, which is the sex, right around the sex organs. Um, in that area is where we start talking about the lower self. Sexual energy could be out of balance. Um, you could be highly sexual, which I'm not judging. There's nothing wrong with highly sexual. It just depends on the person. And also, highly sexual is relative depending on who you are and what is right for you. So I'm just throwing these out here for general um, overstanding for people who may not be familiar. But these are ways we could start to intuit where we may be missing out, or we may be shortchanging ourselves in terms of mastering who we really are. If we never look at what the third eye is responsible for in our own lives, or what the crown chakra is responsible for in our own lives, or how, that relates to what we're seeing and what we're experiencing or lack thereof in our lives. If we never do that, if we never give that attention, the energy's just either stagnant, or the energy could be just haywire and out of control. And all that goes into the physical body, and feeds illness, sickness, and disease, fibroids being the topic in particular that I'm referring to, but it could be any other form of sickness or disease, because as holistic practitioners, or not even that, as just people that are in touch with self, with our intuitive side. If you don't know, there is a spiritual significance of every form of sickness and disease. So there is the spiritual way that you can look at why somebody may have developed an infirmity or an ailment or a sickness. You could also look at it from vibration, which is what we talk about a lot here. But they all kind of overlap. It just depends on what way we are looking through the lens at this time. So this is a wonderful time for us to think in terms of how can we improve and set ourselves up for success in terms of mastering aspects of self that are out of control, or aspects of self that are feeding uterine fibroids, aspects of ourself that we know are holding us back um, in terms of shrinking fibroids naturally. And honestly, when we start to think along these lines, it also relates to fertility. Because the opposite of infertility, aka fibroids, is a form of infertility, would be fertility. So you want to look at things from as many angles as you can to set up a better, a solid, um, foolproof plan to eliminate the infirmity or eliminate the sickness or disease that you're working so hard to get rid of. So I mention all that because, you know, where we've come so far in 2020, there's been a lot of change energetically and a lot of shifting that has been discussed all year by not just me, by tons of people about the energies. And I've been saying all year, almost every video I've posted, that the manifestation power is a lot stronger these days because the earth is shifting to a higher frequency. Now, if you are working diligently on mastering yourself in all of your areas, you are enhancing your chances to be a better manifester. And that will be fibroid elimination or love, the love that you're looking for, the love that you're yearning for. If you already have a love and things have not been the healthiest, you, by healing yourself and working towards your own self mastery, are also healing your closest relationships and your loved ones, and how you're experiencing or your experiences outwardly in your life are going to be resonating. You're going to raise the frequency of everybody that comes into contact with and everything that concerns you. So that's why it's very powerful to go within and do work that involves these topics: mind, body, spirit, soul, higher, lower self, your chakras. You could even say the mental and physical body. And of course, we have other bodies, like there's an etheric body. There's the causal body. We could go very deep, and we do in private coaching. But for the sake of this video, and just to kind of give you some clues or some hints, there's levels to this. But just know that you are at a point right now where, again, I think I said this in the last video, the playing field has been leveled in terms of the things that you wish to have and wish to be, in terms of whatever your biggest and best life and desires and things that are on your heart for whatever your best life is. The playing field has been leveled to where you can instantly have and start seeing the manifestation of these things if you do the work that it takes to um, change the energies and change the energy that has to do specifically with you. So start thinking about that. And when you're doing that, as we move into the new year that's coming, on the Gregorian calendar is 2021. However, I think on the Ethiopian calendar, I think we just switched to 2013. I want to say it was 2012 and now it's 2013. I'm not 100% sure on that. But anyway, this is a great time where your work, your energy work specifically, will be rewarded. So we can take clues from the atmosphere, from the energy of what we see developing within the microcosm of the realm of Earth that we live in right now. Um, all year long, we've been kind of led to this quarantine mentality, this quarantine to our physical bodies, this limited outside connection, which it didn't mean you can't speak to or communicate with anybody, but it definitely was a year where we have seen our physical connection definitely be diminished. Our ability to be out and be in touch with the outside world, our loved ones and friends, has definitely been somewhat eliminated, if you will. So your job as a manifestor, your job as somebody who is grounded in your goddess energy, somebody who is on the path to shrink fibroids naturally, as well as manifest the life of your dreams, your job is to have intuitive awareness about where we find ourselves right now. And there's some clues to this energy and to how the energies have been all 2020 to let you know that this is the time where we should be going within. We're being set up, poised to spend an enormous amount of time alone and develop or deepen our relationship to self and our relationship to God, to Source, to the Creator, and to find the connection to the Creator in self. Um, and we're being supported to be disciplined in this relationship, in this energy work that we're going to be doing with more time that we're spending alone. We're being supported and being rewarded for discipline. So rather than looking at, and being worried or fearful of what's happening with all of these illnesses and these, I don't even want to go into the topic, but we already know what is in the media right now that is being heavily discussed as far as injections, yada, yada, yada. Instead of focusing on that, focus on what you can do and how you can better elevate yourself to where your life outwardly matches um, the best, biggest um, idea of what your life is inside of your heart or inside of your mind's eye. So, whatever your biggest and best life is, and whatever aspects of the biggest and best life of your dreams, and as far as your love life, your relationship, whatever that is, children, what type of life you are cultivating for your children. Because I know a lot of the goddesses that I've been coaching lately have really been struggling, and I'm sending a lot of healing, grounding, and calming energy to all of you goddesses that I spoke with in the last 2 weeks that are struggling with feelings of guilt and feelings of disarray at having to um, kind of just uproot their children from any sense of normalcy with being able to go to school, being able to relate and have relationships with their peers and that kind of thing. I know a lot of goddesses have been reaching out to me about the hardships they're facing with their children because of all these changes that they're feeling like have really hit them and their families and their routine and their lifestyle really hard, but I'm just letting you know that you can transmute that energy. Good evening, Divinity's Child. She says, good evening, Queen. Thank you, Goddess. Welcome to you and peace to you. Um, Transmute that energy and just know that you can find in the moment rather than being, I know it's hard, sad over your children being uprooted from their routine in school. Just be thankful and have gratitude that they are safe and that you have your children and that you have the opportunity to, again, take over what your children are being taught, and having a closer relationship with your children. Because in a lot of other countries I've heard some pretty sad stories of them going into schools and just doing whatever to people's children. So I'm just encouraging you to transmute the energy and make it something good to where you can have peace and move on forward into the moment and into where we're finding ourselves, where you're finding yourself with your children or with your family, wherever you are at the present moment, so that you can manifest. Because the time right now is about being a master manifester, and it ain't about stressing about anything. It's not really a time to be sitting in lower vibrational energy, because there's really too much of a setup for beautiful things to be manifested. I think a lot of the stuff that's happening is kind of daunting, but when you know who you are and you have more knowledge of who you are as a spiritual and physical being, and a mind, body, spirit, and soul present, and you're in touch with the universe, with God, with the Creator, you know that you don't have to be fearful, and you shouldn't rest in fear. We are all human. These emotions do come up. It's our job to recognize them and snatch them back out and replace them with something that is higher vibrational, or something that is of the love vibration. That's kind of what I'm on. I'm encouraging everybody to have a mind hack going forward right now, to where you can instantly, as close to instantly as possible, because I know it's tough, bring your focus on higher or the love frequency, because that is where you really talk about aligning with the Most High and seeing these things, seeing the life that you desire, the victory, the triumph in whatever area manifests. So take that and think about it and pour any energy, pour any feelings where you feel out of control into something that you're doing for yourself, for your best self to manifest. That could look like when we're talking about self mastery. So, a lot of goddesses with self mastery and fibroids. What are the areas that we need to be working on at all times to make sure fibroids are not being fed and they're actually being starved so that they can shrink, atrophy, and dissolve? That is eating plant based, that is making sure you're hydrated, drinking your water. That is taking herbs and supplements, finding out about that if you don't know about that through people like me, herbalists, or educating yourself and doing research on your own and learning about herbs, drawing closer to nature, spending time in nature, getting that vitamin D on your skin, making sure you're sweating at least 4 to 5 times a week in some form of exercise. And if you're not regular, if you're not having regular bowel movements, that's a big clue that you need to be flipping that and finding out what you need to do in your diet, in your life, with your gut, first and foremost, so that you can make sure you're effectively, regularly eliminating toxins. Start there and build your self mastery plan around those areas. If you're already doing those areas, what's next? What's the next level for how to level up, level up, level up, level up, level up, right? In 2021, you know, do you already exercise a lot? Okay, so we know if we exercise a lot and we still have fibroids, there's some other areas where things are out of balance in our life. So say you're somebody who's like, I exercise a lot. That doesn't apply to me. I already eat plant based. That ain't me. Okay, so then I'm gonna start asking you what's going on with your emotional balance, your emotions, your emotional body, with the psyche. Is there something? Are you stressed? What's your stress management um, situation looking like? And if you don't know what I mean by stress management, because somebody told me they didn't understand what that meant. That just means, what plan do you have in place for yourself to combat stress? Everyone should have one, whether you have fibroids or not. But if you have fibroids, that's a sign that the hormones are out of balance. The stress hormone is cortisol. Cortisol is out of balance, okay? As well as insulin and the progesterone and obviously the estrogen, because women with fibroids have an overabundance of estrogen in the body. Now, all these things and more, because there are other hormones and whatnot, are all out of balance in some way. So your job is to make sure you're doing things that cover these areas of self mastery with the physical and the emotional, spiritual bodies, to make sure you're bringing everything back into balance, right? That's what we're doing. So start to do the detective work to intuit and determine what you need to fix, what you need to tweak, so that you can pull everything back into balance. Because you are, as we mentioned before, you're the goddess on the throne in your womb universe, right? Nothing should be running a haywire in your womb universe and unchecked. You're in control. You have the power, not even your doctor. The doctor responds to you, right? So it's about knowing that, owning it, getting rid of lower vibrational emotions, not feeling guilty, or lowering or cowering, or making yourself small to accommodate other people who are threatened by you being in power. Because again, all these things literally, and I know I'm jumping from different topics, but all these areas are areas that I hear about a lot, and I've also experienced a lot of them personally, that I had to learn, that I had to address this stuff. And some of it seems like it's not a big deal, but it's these little areas that you may think is not a big deal that will make a big difference in terms of shrinking fibroids. So let me see. I have another comment. I have a hard time finding my little chat sometimes. And I saw the chat. There it is. Okay. Divinity's child. Yes, emotions also. The mother wound has to do with it as well. In terms of mother wound, do you mean the womb? Mother wound? The womb? If that's what you mean, then yeah, fibroids are in the womb. And your womb is also the womb universe. So yeah, everything's connected. I mean, but you can look at the womb or the mother wound if that's what you mean. Everyone, men and women, and everything that's inside of this realm and this earth is inside of a womb, you know? So you're absolutely right. And I love that you put that in there because it shows that you are already intuitively connected and aware for yourself and your womb universe for how you should be looking at things to bring balance and to maintain balance in your womb and in your womb universe. So peace to you, goddess. Thank you for commenting. So, really briefly, because my goal is actually a couple of goals for myself is to be more disciplined with my YouTube. Because I love my YouTube, but I notice I get wrapped up in like my Instagram, not to mention y'all know I make tea. I'm actually in the middle of filling a bunch of tea orders for my Etsy shop. Thank y'all for all the orders too, by the way. But organizing all of those things and making sure I do that, and then I also do other entrepreneurial things on the side. So my goal is to become more disciplined with the YouTube and as well as with juggling everything. Right, that's part of my self mastery. But make sure you're setting goals. This is a great time to get some goals set for yourself. Speaking of that, on a side note, we have a full moon coming up Tuesday, December 29th is the full moon. You already know if you're on this channel, you probably are very well aware about how to align with the energies during the different moon phases. If you're into the moon phases and life hacking in terms of the phases of the moon, you already know the full moon is a good time to let go of things, identify things that we can actively make sure that we are removing, getting rid of. You can look at that in terms of literally decluttering your house. You can also declutter your temple. Your mind can be decluttered. You know, however you want to look at it, it's good to, you know, align with that energy. It's very powerful to have some sort of a practice that you do, a little ceremonial thing that you do around this time, around the time of the full moon, in order to direct that energy and harness your own energy in whatever state, condition of imbalance or balance that is in. That's a great time for you to step into your womb, throne womb, and do that some powerful action steps that actually does get results. I've hosted a few womb circles in the past, and we've actually done some group work in that vein. And I'll probably do another one with Womb Hang Clan in the future. But as of right now, I'm just kind of focusing. Like I said, I got a lot of orders, and I've got a lot of stuff planned for the free group because we've been doing some challenges. We've been doing a lot of challenges in the Womb Hang Clan group on Facebook. If you're into monthly womb wellness, fibroid elimination challenges, you may want to join the group. The group is free, but there are upgraded levels to participate that are paid if you want to pay or do so at that level. That's kind of how that works. But set your goals, do your ceremonies, and make them in whatever way real for yourself. A good, easy thing that everybody talks about around the full moon. Um, I love to highlight the topic of detachment instead of just thinking in terms of let go, how important it is to marinate and meditate on the topic, the subject of being detached and what that's all about. And I'll probably save that and go back into that a little bit more next week around Tuesday because I didn't want to be on here over 30 minutes and we're at 29. But make sure you're scheduling time for self-care. You should have some sort of a practice in place in terms of self-mastery. Right now, my big thing is being disciplined with my workouts. I've been doing 4 to 5 days a week since mid-November. Yay me. And I've just started doing dance fitness classes. For those of y'all that didn't know, make sure you're following me on Instagram. And I will also try to make my YouTube audience more aware. But I do have dance fit classes. They are super dope. Definitely stay linked for the next class. They are $15 to attend, but I have had great reviews. And we do also focus our energy on manifesting womb wellness. We do womb energy work for the second half of those classes. They are super dope. I can't say that enough. And my last quick little tip is to stay hydrated during these times. And we should be staying hydrated anyway, but make sure you're hydrating just to keep things moving. And also to remind yourself of the power of water and how dynamic water really is. And when you're doing your hydration, speak your affirmations into your water. Speak your healing into the water. Speak your commands for the fibroids to dissolve, to disappear, and to go into your water. And thank the water for nourishing your cells as you do that. That's a quick little, I'll take a sip. A quick little action plan for you. But this was just to kind of clue you in and remind you of the opportunity that we have right now to be our best. And my dog's about to start barking, so I'm about to end the video. There you go. Okay, I'm going to be more active. I got to go say bye to my family members. They're going away. They were visiting for the holiday. But I'm sending you peace and love. If you like this video, let me know in the comments. Shout out to Divinity for commenting, and I will talk to y'all soon because I'm about to be more disciplined with my YouTube. All right, peace and love.